I must say that as we've come to the end now and we see the conclusions, I'm very conscious that there have been interesting discussions, maybe debates, maybe some disagreements, especially in our discussions in the last day or two. And I think that those are healthy and good discussions and debates, and we're not going to resolve everything here. But hopefully, as we leave here, we've identified some of the common elements that I think this final statement has captured extremely well. Because even if we have disagreements about some of the things that often and always divide us, different ways of seeing things, different cultural perspectives, different preoccupations about what is the most important thing about Dominican life, etc. I hope and pray that if nothing else emerges from these few days together, that we at least will all come away from here with the conviction that work for human rights, which is an integral part of work for justice and peace, should underlie all that we do, not parts of what we do, all that we do. In that sense, there is no area of our lives that is separate from a reflection on justice and peace, and therefore the human rights inherent in it. Whether we're talking about philosophy, whether we're talking about Hebrew, whether we're talking about liturgy, whether we're talking about catechesis, whether we're talking about any aspect of our lives, our passion for bringing the good news for the poor, the oppressed, the suffering, the sick, is at the heart of everything. And if we can all come away with that conviction that unless that is at the heart of all we do, nothing we are doing in those other areas ultimately is linked to the real gospel of Jesus. And I hope and pray that with that conviction, we can go out of here and we can also help all our own sisters and brothers everywhere to appreciate that in a deeper way. Because we all know that the divisions amongst us are rooted in different priorities from what we're talking about here. And it's up to us, and the main purpose of this Congress, in wanting to remind us as Dominicans about these roots of our history and our charism and the gospel. We are here, we've been here to help remind us about that. And I hope and pray that all our debates will never cease to come back to this point in order to find what are the solutions to the different debates and differences amongst us. Because if we start here, I have no doubt that we can find a common path, we can find a common direction, and that we can resolve the many differences that exist amongst us. So as we go from here, our challenge is to enliven the whole order, the whole Dominican family. We have not come here just for our own sakes. We have come here because the whole order is looking for a new life, a new conversion, so these 800-year Jubilee can be a moment of renewal for all of us. We know that not everyone is open to change. In fact, probably even amongst ourselves, we're all resistant to change in one way or another. I always think that I'm already on the right path. We're all in danger of thinking that. Hopefully, though, in the process of this meeting, and as we encounter difference, we can discover that each and every one of us still has a long way to go. Because our struggle for human rights and for justice and peace has to be rooted in a deep humility. One of the reasons maybe why there are often big reactions to justice and peace and human rights is because sometimes we are experienced as being arrogant or not listening or just trying to push a certain line and be very ideological or something like that. We have to become people who are listeners, who are open to difference, who are prepared to debate and dialogue. We're not going to just push our own point of view. Unless we do that, we will never attract any others to be concerned about the vital centrality of justice and peace and of work for human rights. So my hope and my prayer is that the great energy that this Congress has generated, and I must say, I've been overwhelmed by the response, as I said right at the beginning. The response not only to the attendance, because we didn't think we would reach 200 people here, but the fact that we've found ourselves with 200 people here, coming from all parts of the world, I think is not insignificant. And I think that most of us who are here not only in our own right, but we're here with the support of our respective entities. And if we are here with the support of our respective entities, it means that they have been aware of the importance of sending you here, and therefore they are open to what we are talking about. So if this openness exists within the order as a whole, I think there's a lot of hope. And as we go back home now, the question is, how will we communicate and deepen what our brothers and sisters are doing? In the reports that Tina and I presented, we already gave the examples of so many wonderful things that are happening. And we need to go back and affirm these. Even though many people don't call these things human rights or justice and peace, we need to help them to see that's what we're talking about. And we need to deepen it. We need to come back with a positive message, not a negative one. If we come across with a negative one, we will just turn people off. How can we come back with a positive message which is drenched in the gospel? So, with those few words, I want to just say thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you for the efforts you've made to be here. I've been delighted that through this process, I've got to know so many of you, even if it's through emails. And I'm so sad that there was not enough time here for me to personally, and I'm sure you all feel the same way, to be able to meet those that I've been communicating with or to have a few words with you. And I hope that at least now that we know each other, at least by face, we have opened the door to more communication so that it won't end here. We haven't had time to hear so many important stories in this meeting, and I'm very sad about that. I know that many of you are coming from situations where there's real suffering taking place, where it would have been excellent for us to have heard your story. We have our brothers and sisters here from Venezuela, from Vietnam, from China, from Iraq, from the Congo, from Burundi. I could go on and on. But the suffering in all of these places is enormous. And many of them have not been able to share that, which at one level seems a bit scandalous. We've come together here and we haven't had time to hear those vital stories. But I hope that in this time we've been able to touch those people or hear them or be open to listening to them. And even if you haven't yet, there's still time. Many of us will remain here tomorrow or go on this trip to Calaruega, and I hope that we can take advantage of that to get to know each other better, to hear each other's stories, because it's in hearing of those concrete stories that the real challenge for our mission emerges, and that's where the real sense of compassion can emerge from drenching ourselves in those stories. We're not just talking about theories or principles or ideas or traditions or all those sorts of things. We're talking about concrete realities that people are experiencing on a daily basis. And I would hope and pray that by sharing these stories here and going out of your way to sit at another table, not just to stay with your little group in the short time we have left, make an effort to go to someone you haven't met yet. Try and understand what is their story. I know there are language problems or difficulties, but how can we break out of that? There are always people around willing to translate for us. So I want to thank you and thank all of those who've come from all these parts of the world with the hope of sharing these stories, and I'm very sorry if you didn't get that space. But it's not the end. This meeting is just a beginning.